It's doomsday today as the Lions not only reel from a pretty emotionally draining roller coaster of a loss, but also the fallout from yet another apocalyptic turn of events in the injury game. Lions starting defensive tackle Ali McNeil, the pride of Sanderson High School, with a torn ACL, and cornerback Carlton Davis with a broken jaw. Now, that broken jaw is definitely a season-ending injury because his jaw is about to be wired shut for the next 6 weeks. No solid food for him for a little while, so even if he was able to technically come back, he would not be in playing condition. He would be pretty weak, probably losing a few pounds. Just an awful, horrendous injury for Lions newcomer Carlton Davis there. And special teams ace, gunner extraordinaire, and reserve corner Khalil Dorsey left with his foot dangling after a collision in the red zone. Something's broken there. Not good. So that's done for the season. And to top it all off, workhorse running back David Montgomery, the engine of the offense, down and out with a knee injury of his own. What is going on? Lions fans are such mercurial, manic depressives that they put even me to shame, and that's saying something. So, needless to say, their reactions have not been pretty. Some are holding on to that muted hope that has gotten us through the past few weeks, but the alarms are sounding among the Pride faithful, as in many people's eyes. This season is all but over. It's a wrap, guys. Super Bowl was wishful thinking. Man, oh man, the things that a second loss in Week 15 will do to people. You know, people really are ready to toss the Lions out and dance on their graves after one loss, just their second of the year. And the national media is getting primed for a huge I told you so phase. It's about to spread like a virus. Lions are frauds, Lions are dirty, they deserve this fall from grace, and they're just setting the table now. God forbid a loss next week, and it's going to get bad. Yeah, the worst, most miserable people you know are having the time of their life right now, as not only national haters say I told you so and say good riddance to this upstart team, those SOL fans are even appearing out of the woodwork to bring their yearly tidings of just spite, toxicity that only they know and perpetuate, trying to ruin everything with their cynicism. I'm sorry, but did Dan Campbell and the team and the culture he built just drop dead overnight? Talk bad about Campbell and his decision-making all you want, but, I mean, you're just looking for a scapegoat at this point. If Mac Hollins tips that ball into the air and the Lions jump up and recover it, then what? Lions get the ball back down 10. It just so happened that in a game where the Bills got every break and they whipped out that black magic time and time again, that Hollins tips it to himself and finds nothing but open grass in front of him. And if this defense is so bad, they were just going to let them score anyway, and with more time taken off the clock. And yet, despite all of this, everything that could have gone wrong, down 14-0 in the first 5 minutes, and every player on defense dropping out like it's the newest fad sweeping the nation. Apparently, it's just endemic to Detroit football, but despite all that, the Lions still had a chance to win that game at the end. Now, it was minuscule, it was molecular, but God, there was a chance, a very real chance at the end of that game to recover the onside kick and get a shot in the dark at winning at the buzzer. When Jake Bates...
I want to thank God.
When Jake Bates slapped that thing down and chased after it Pat McAfee style and the pile rose to the ceiling, anything was possible, and it very nearly went their way. At the bottom of the pile, it changed his hands so many times, it could have been the Lions' ball for a little while, for all we know. The refs were spending a solid 2 minutes, I think, trying to pull guys off that pile as the Lions just looked for just anything that they could get there at the very end of the game. But players don't do that for any coach. Say what you want, but by the end of that train wreck of a game, with the whole universe telling them to fail, Dan Campbell ultimately had them in a position to potentially win the game. I don't care what you say about the decision making. It's the same people who said kick it during the NFC Championship game. That kick was never a guarantee. Did everyone just collectively forget the Lions' kicking woes that year? Are kicks ever automatic? I mean, Just ask John Carney, the Saints kicker who missed the game-tying point after against the Jaguars after a miracle lateral play to score a touchdown. How about you address the real issue at hand, that all we needed to do in that game, the NFC Championship, was catch a ball to convert on 4th down on a pass that was in the guy's hands. And now let's face the reality of this situation. You kick the ball deep on that onside play, and they take 5 to 7 minutes off the clock and score a touchdown on your depleted defense. And now you're down 17 with 5 to 7 minutes left to play. You still need to kick it onsides to win. These people only trust it when it works, but sometimes you roll a 2 or a 12 instead of a 7. That's just the nature of the game. Where the other rider dies at, man? I mean, it's just like Dan Campbell says, you can't ride the wave. You got to stay even. And some people, even amongst our own ranks, allegedly need to heed that warning. So is it true? Will the Lions now lose out and be left playing on the road and wondering what might have been? I don't think so. With bad injury luck already, the Lions hadn't lost a game in 90 days before that Bills loss. They don't lose back-to-backs in this new Dan Campbell era. The Lions will definitely bounce back. I mean, the O-line didn't play too well in the Bills game, but I think that game's going to be a wake-up call. The whole team got a wake-up call in that game. The defense is going to be depleted, and our bulldozer running back is out for the year. So it's about to be Gibbs with Craig Reynolds and Sione Vaki, and hell, maybe even Jamar Jefferson will get back in there. So O-line, you need to block for these guys because they're about to be toting the rock and keeping the offense on the field, and most importantly, keeping our defense off the field. Sure, Jared Goff can do what he needs to do to win if the time calls for it, but hopefully you won't be getting into that situation. And it's not like the defense is a total wash. I mean, Brian Branch, Jack Campbell, Kirby Joseph, Amik Robertson, Terrion Arnold, DJ Reader, although he didn't do too well in the last game, but even Muhammad has shown some flashes here and there, especially in that Bears game. So there's still quality players left on the defense, but the reserves in the front seven that are playing now, they got to step up. Of course, Josh Allen is a different beast entirely, and the Lions defense will play other opponents differently, but if they can pull together and learn those hard lessons from the Bills game, face it, and take it to the Bears at Soldier Field, I think the Lions will be just fine. With this mentality that the team has, that grit, that toughness, that travels in the cold and the elements, I mean, we've seen it before. Lambeau Field, anybody? This could end up being exactly what the Lions needed to recoup and get back together as we go down the backstretch. Everyone is so quick to throw Aaron Glenn under the bus, too, now, after we were singing his praises full-throated maybe like a month ago. He's always the first scapegoat, it seems. Like, it was the defense, and then it was him, and now, I don't know. He's still a quality coach. He just had his hands full with an anomaly, alien quarterback, not of this earth, playing at his peak, in his prime, with castaways making up half of his defense. I mean, we knew that they had to lose one eventually, and they were not going 16-1. And this was a hell of a one to lose. I mean, this was the most obvious one you could chalk up. Yeah, but the most pressing issue wasn't the loss itself. I get that. It was the awful, horrendous injury news that came out of it. But as long as we got warm bodies and beating hearts on that team, we got to play some games and we got to win them. We have to do all we can to win out and get that 1 seed. We still own it right now thanks to our 8-1 conference record, beating the Eagles' record of 7-2. And the Lions got 2 pretty difficult road games the next couple weeks, but they're still undefeated on the road. And after all that, despite it all, this team controls its own destiny. After everything that's happened, we're still in the driver's seat. So don't discount all the amazing things that this team has already done and will continue to try and do, because do you have any idea how difficult it's been to stack up these wins with everything that's been going on? Winning 12 games by December for the Detroit Lions, that team, that franchise, with all of this adversity, like, don't get all cocky for 3 months and then abandon them when things get tough, especially when there's still so much to play for. Like, everything is still in play. We got injuries, sure. We got half a team. We're going to have 2 full teams by the end of this season. We're going to have a bunch of guys off the street and all that, but we're still in it. We still got all this stuff. Like, we still got a Super Bowl to go try and get after. It just doesn't matter. Take the trip and enjoy the ride, because if they pull this thing off and make it all the way, just think of how incredible of a feat that would be. Like, this could still be a very magical season. So if you're dreaming of them losing out and collapsing and just falling on their face and losing a playoff game, get off the bus, man. This wagon is not for you. This is for us who've seen it all, and yet we may not have ever seen what this team could eventually end up doing. So Dan's the man, greatest coach in Lions history, and if anyone could do it, it's him. So stay tuned and keep it down.